The Citadel did not orbit the neutron star, it endured it. From the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle, Michael Collins watched the structure loom into clarity, its vast arcs bending light into strange halos. The star beyond it pulsed in violent blues and whites, a dying heart chained to an ancient machine. No human structure could have survived that radiation. No human would have tried. Ambassador. The pilot's voice broke the silence. We've been granted docking clearance. Collins didn't answer immediately. His reflection stared back at him in the glass, lined face, steady eyes, the faint scar along his jaw he barely remembered earning. 52 years, and somehow this was the moment everything led to. Take us in, he said. The shuttle slid forward, swallowed by the Citadel's immense docking aperture. No visible defenses. None needed. The message was clear: resistance here was not considered. Inside, gravity shifted subtly, artificial but precise. The docking bay stretched wider than most cities, filled with vessels that defied symmetry and expectation, living ships, crystalline constructs, organic masses that pulsed faintly as if breathing. Human engineering suddenly felt young. A reception detail awaited him. Not soldiers. Not quite. Tall, angular figures stood in silent formation, their surfaces reflecting light like polished obsidian. No faces, no visible weapons, but Collins felt the weight of their attention immediately. Ambassador Michael Collins, one of them said. The voice did not come from a mouth. It resonated, precise and toneless. You will accompany us. Not a request. Collins stepped forward. Lead the way. They moved without turning, gliding rather than walking. He followed, boots echoing softly against the metallic floor. No guards behind him. They didn't expect him to run. The corridors narrowed as they advanced, shifting from industrial vastness to deliberate design. Patterns emerged in the walls, fractals, repeating but never identical. The longer he looked, the more they seemed to move. You built this around a dying star, Collins said, mostly to himself. It was not dying when construction began, the voice replied. Of course not. Time, to them, meant something else entirely. They entered a transport chamber. The floor dissolved beneath them, not falling, but transitioning. In an instant, they stood elsewhere. Collins suppressed the instinct to react. Don't give them anything. The council chamber revealed itself gradually, as if it refused to be understood all at once. Tier upon tier stretched upward into shadow, filled with forms that blurred the line between biology and abstraction. Some floated. Some shimmered. Some simply were. At the center stood a circular platform. For him. Collins stepped onto it alone. A silence followed, not empty, but expectant. Observing. Then, a presence shifted. High above, a figure resolved from darkness. It did not descend, the space seemed to rearrange around it. Smooth, elongated, its form carried an unsettling symmetry that felt almost intentional. Ambassador Michael Collins, it said. This voice had weight. Authority woven into every syllable. I am High Arbiter Selveric. You stand before the Council of Continuance. Collins inclined his head slightly. Not submission. Acknowledgement. I understand. Then understand this also. Selveric continued. This proceeding is not negotiation. It is reckoning. A ripple passed through the chamber. Agreement, perhaps. Collins kept his posture relaxed. Reckonings imply conclusions. I assume you've reached one already? A pause. Interesting. Selveric did not respond directly. Instead, the space around Collins ignited with light. Projections formed, stars, systems, data streams cascading in layered precision. Humanity, Selveric said, has expanded beyond its designated boundaries in 73 recorded instances. The images shifted, colonies blooming across map space. You have initiated contact with pre-development civilizations in violation of containment accords. New images, alien worlds, human ships descending. You have developed technologies deemed unstable under Council law. A final projection, space itself folding, collapsing, then stabilizing. Collins watched it all without interruption. Accurate, but incomplete. And for these actions, Selvarek concluded, your species stands in violation of continuance protocols. The projections vanished. Silence returned, heavier now. Collins exhaled slowly. Timing mattered. You've presented evidence, he said. Not context. A faint stir moved through the chamber. Selvarek's gaze, if it could be called that, fixed on him. Context does not alter outcome. It defines it, Collins replied. Another pause. Longer this time. Then you may provide it, Selvarek said. Briefly. There it was. A concession, however small. Collins clasped his hands behind his back, grounding himself. You've shown what we've done, he said. You haven't asked why. That is irrelevant. Is it? Collins tilted his head slightly. You're judging a species without understanding the conditions that shaped it. The chamber shifted again, not movement, but attention focusing. Selvarek's voice sharpened, just enough to notice. All species face adversity. Most learn restraint. Collins allowed himself a faint, humorless smile. We didn't have that luxury. He let the words settle, then added quietly. Tell me, was humanity ever given the chance to fail, before being judged for it? Silence. Not the same as before. This one had weight. Uncertainty, however slight. Collins felt it. Not victory, nothing close, but a crack. And cracks, he knew, were where things began to break. The silence Collins had carved out did not last. It hardened. Context acknowledged. Selvarek said at last, the words measured. It will not alter the conclusion. The chamber stirred again, less curious now, more resolved. Collins expected that. One question wouldn't dismantle centuries of doctrine. Proceed, the arbiter commanded. Light returned, sharper this time. Not just evidence, judgment in motion. A star system unfolded before them, rendered in precise detail. A fragile lattice of planetary bodies circled the dim red sun. System designation, Iller 9, Selvarek stated. Pre-contact classification, stable. The scene shifted. Human ships entered the frame, sleek, efficient, unmistakably modern. Post-contact outcome, destabilization. The projection accelerated. Mining rigs appeared, orbitals constructed, traffic multiplied. Then fractures. Gravitational imbalance. One of the inner planets spiraled inward, consumed by its star in a burst of violent light. A murmur rippled across the chamber. Collins didn't look away. You overextended extraction operations, Selvarek continued. Ignored system thresholds. Result, irreversible collapse. Another system replaced it. Oceanic world. Bioluminescent life thriving beneath vast, unbroken seas. System designation, Thalen Reach. Indigenous species, pre-industrial. Human vessels again. This time smaller. Exploratory. Outcome, cultural contamination. The projection slowed. A coastal settlement. Native beings gathered as humans descended. Tools exchanged. Knowledge transferred. Then came the shift, faster growth, altered ecosystems, imbalance. Within decades, the native biosphere warped beyond recovery. They did not survive your intervention, Selvarek said. Collins' jaw tightened. He remembered that report. Not the Council's version, the real one. A third image emerged, darker than the rest. Space itself distorted, bending into unnatural angles. Experimental drive testing, Selvarek said. Unauthorized. The distortion intensified, then snapped. A localized rupture, collapsing inward before stabilizing. Probability of cascade failure, 82%, the arbiter added. Contained by chance. The projections vanished. No flourish this time. Just absence. Selvarek's voice filled it. You expand without limit. You interfere without comprehension. You create without restraint. Each sentence landed with deliberate weight. These are not isolated incidents. They are patterns. Collins drew a slow breath. The council wasn't wrong. That was the problem. You're presenting consequences, he said, keeping his tone even. Not causes. A faint shift, attention narrowing. Selvarek responded immediately. Cause is immaterial. Outcome defines risk. It defines surface risk, Collins corrected. Not behavior. You distinguish where there is no need. No, Collins said quietly. You ignore where there is. A pause. Not resistance, evaluation. Selvarek allowed it. Explain. Collins stepped forward slightly. The platform didn't move, but the gesture mattered. Iller 9, he began. You called it stable. It wasn't. The system was already degrading, slow orbital decay, long-term collapse. We accelerated it, yes. But we also extracted resources that would have been lost. That does not justify. It explains, Collins cut in, not raising his voice. We didn't break a perfect system. We exploited a failing one. A murmur spread again, quieter, more focused. Selvarek did not interrupt this time. Thalen Reach, Collins continued. You said we contaminated them. That's one way to frame it. It is the accurate one. They were heading toward extinction, Collins said. Environmental instability. Limited adaptability. We gave them tools. You altered their natural progression. We gave them a chance, Collins replied. The chamber stilled. Selvarek's tone sharpened slightly. A chance they did not survive. Collins met the unseen gaze. Without us, they had no chance at all. That landed. Not as agreement, but as friction. He pressed forward. And the drive test? Collins added. Yes, it was dangerous. It also gave us a propulsion method that reduced transit time by half. Fewer ships lost. Fewer systems strained by long-range travel. You justify risk with gain. I explain why we take it. Selvarek descended, no movement, but presence intensifying. The distance between them seemed to vanish. Other species face similar thresholds, the Arbiter said. They chose restraint. Collins let out a quiet breath. No. They chose survival after they stabilized. A flicker, subtle, but there. You think we had that option? Collins continued. We came from a single world with limited resources, constant conflict, and no external guidance. We didn't inherit balance. We fought our way into it. Many species endure hardship, Selvarek replied. Few respond with such volatility. Collins almost smiled. That volatility is why we're still here. The words hung in the chamber. You see chaos, he added. We see adaptation. Selvarek's response came without delay. Adaptation without control leads to collapse. Control without adaptation leads to stagnation, Collins countered. There it was. Not just disagreement, philosophy colliding. The chamber reacted more visibly now. Not unified. Not certain. Selvarek absorbed it, then spoke, voice colder. You argue that your instability is a virtue. I argue that it's misunderstood. A longer silence followed. Not empty. Thinking. Finally, Selvarek said, Your species does not deny its actions. No, Collins said. We don't. Yet you expect exemption from consequence. Collins shook his head. No. I expect you to understand what you're judging. The Arbiter paused. Then, quieter. And what is that? Collins held the moment, choosing his words carefully. Not a threat, he said. A variable you don't know how to measure. The chamber did not react this time. It listened. And for the first time since his arrival, Collins felt it shift, not in his favor, not yet, but away from certainty. That was enough. The chamber did not return to its earlier certainty. That absence lingered like a pressure change, subtle, but undeniable. Michael Collins felt it in the stillness, in the way the council no longer moved as one. For the first time, the weight pressing against him had fractured into competing directions. Selveric noticed it too. You propose that humanity is misinterpreted, the Arbiter said, voice controlled. Clarify. Collins didn't answer immediately. He let the pause breathe, forcing attention to settle fully before he spoke. You're measuring us against a model that assumes stability is the goal, he said. That equilibrium is the highest state a civilization can reach. It is, Selveric replied. Collins shook his head slightly. It's a plateau. A faint stir spread across the chamber. Without waiting, Collins gestured. Use your own data. The space responded. Not to him, but to the authority of the discussion. Projections ignited again, but this time they didn't follow the Arbiter's direction. A network of star systems appeared, council-regulated territories, marked by uniform patterns of development. Regions under strict continuance oversight, Collins said. Long-term observation windows. You've been tracking them for centuries. Selveric did not interrupt. Notice the trend, Collins continued. The projections shifted. Growth curves flattened. Innovation markers slowed. Trade routes stabilized into rigid structures. Nothing collapsed, but nothing changed. Efficiency, Selveric said. Stagnation, Collins corrected. A sharper reaction this time. Not loud, but present. Collins moved forward, pressing the advantage. Now compare that, he said. The display split. On one side, the Council's systems remained steady. On the other, regions touched by human expansion unfolded, messier, less predictable. Trade lines shifted. New colonies appeared in unlikely places. Species interacted in ways the Council had never sanctioned. At first glance, it looked unstable. Higher volatility, Selveric noted. Yes, Collins agreed. Look deeper. The data refined. Recovery rates appeared, how systems responded to disruption. Where Council-controlled regions showed slow, controlled responses, human-influenced zones adapted rapidly. Not cleanly, but effectively. Collins let that sit. You maintain order by limiting change, he said. We survive by responding to it. Selveric's presence tightened. Response without control is randomness. It's flexibility, Collins replied. The chamber shifted again, more visibly divided now. Some forms leaned closer. Others withdrew slightly, processing. Selveric pressed forward. You suggest instability produces strength. I'm saying it produces resilience. A pause. Then the Arbiter asked. At what cost? Collins didn't hesitate. Mistakes. The word echoed differently than anything else he'd said. Failures. Losses. Damage, Collins continued. We don't avoid them. We learn from them faster than systems designed to prevent them entirely. You justify inefficiency. I describe reality. Selveric moved closer again, not physically, but perceptibly. The space around Collins felt tighter, more focused. Your argument assumes that long-term survival benefits from disruption, the Arbiter said. Yet your own examples demonstrate harm. Collins nodded once. Short-term harm. And long-term? Collins met the unseen gaze. Adaptation? Silence followed, not empty, but evaluating. He shifted the projection again. Your models predict collapse, he said. Eventually. Not immediately. Not even soon. But inevitably. The data changed, long arcs of time, stretching far beyond human lifespans. Council systems, stable for centuries, began to show subtle degradation. Innovation flatlined. Resource cycles tightened. Minor disturbances amplified over time. Closed systems fail, Collins said quietly. Not because they're weak, but because they stop changing. A murmur spread, this one sharper, edged with something closer to concern. Selveric did not speak. Collins pressed further. We don't prevent collapse, he said. We interrupt it. The projection shifted again, human expansion intersecting those same systems. Disruptions occurred, but the long-term decay patterns broke apart, replaced by irregular but sustained activity. Messy, Collins admitted. Unpredictable. But alive. Selvarek's voice cut through, colder now. You claim that disorder sustains existence. I claim that controlled disorder does, Collins corrected. Controlled? The Arbiter's tone sharpened. Your species demonstrates no such control. Collins allowed a faint exhale. Not by your standards. By any measurable standard. Then you're measuring the wrong thing. That landed harder than anything before. The chamber stilled completely. Selvarek paused, not long, but enough to register. Define it, the Arbiter said. Collins didn't rush. You measure control as the absence of deviation, he said. We measure it as the ability to recover from it. No one spoke. Even the projections seemed to dim slightly, as if the chamber itself was listening. Selvarek responded, quieter now. Recovery is not prevention. No, Collins agreed. It's better. A longer silence followed. Not resistance. Consideration. For the first time, Selvarek did not immediately counter. That was new. Collins felt it, not victory, not even close, but movement. The kind that couldn't be undone. The Arbiter finally spoke. You present humanity as a corrective force. Collins shook his head. No. A beat. As a necessary one. This time, the silence wasn't heavy. It was uncertain. And uncertainty, Collins knew, was the beginning of change. The chamber did not erupt. It tightened. Silence gathered with intent, as if every presence within the citadel leaned inward at once. Michael Collins stood alone at the center, aware that whatever came next would not be shaped by argument alone. Selvarek spoke first. You have reframed your species as a function, the Arbiter said. A catalyst. A disruption with purpose. Collins didn't respond. The Arbiter continued, tone colder now. That does not remove the risk. It defines it. A shift rippled through the council, less divided than before, but no longer unified. Some forms pulsed faintly, others dimmed, processing. Selvarek pressed forward. If what you claim is true, then humanity accelerates instability wherever it expands. Yes, Collins said simply. No hesitation. No softening. The admission landed harder than denial ever could. And yet, Selvarek continued, you argue for your continued existence. I argue for understanding the consequences of removing us, Collins replied. A pause. Then, for the first time, the Arbiter descended fully into the chamber. Not movement, repositioning. Presence sharpened until it felt almost tangible. You presume significance, Selvarek said. Collins met it without flinching. You wouldn't be here if we weren't. That struck something deeper than the earlier exchanges. Not anger, something closer to recognition. The Arbiter's voice lowered. You mistake attention for necessity. Do I? Collins asked quietly. He let the question hang, then continued before the response could form. You've shown what we break, he said. You've measured the damage. You've calculated the risk. A step forward, not physically, but in tone. You haven't asked what happens if we're gone. The chamber stilled again. Selvarek did not interrupt. Collins exhaled slowly, shifting away from data, away from models. Let me answer that differently, he said. No projections appeared this time. No simulations. Just his voice. We started on a single world, Collins said. One environment. Limited resources. Constant conflict. No external system to stabilize us. The council listened. We didn't inherit balance, he continued. We built it. Badly at first. Then better. Then differently. His gaze lifted, not toward any one figure, but across all of them. We made mistakes you would consider catastrophic, he said. Wars. Collapses. Near extinction, More than once. A faint stir passed through the chamber. We didn't stop, Collins added. Selvarek's voice cut in, controlled but sharper. Persistence is not virtue. No, Collins agreed. It's necessity. The Arbiter held silence for a moment, then said, Many species endure hardship. Few propagate it beyond their origin. Collins nodded. Because most species stabilize before they expand. And you did not. We couldn't. That drew attention again, focused, deliberate. Collins continued steady. You see expansion as a choice, he said. For us, it was survival. Stay contained, and we collapse under our own limits. Move outward, and we risk everything. Selvarek's response came quickly. You chose risk. We chose chance, Collins corrected. A subtle difference. A critical one. The chamber absorbed it. Collins let the silence settle, then shifted again. Final approach. You asked what makes us different, he said. Selvarek did not deny it. Collins's voice softened, not weaker, but more direct. We're not finished. That drew no immediate reaction. He continued. Every species here reached a point where change slowed. Where systems stabilized. Where survival became maintenance. A pause. We haven't. The words hung in the air, simple and heavy. Selvarek spoke, quieter now. You define incompletion as strength. No, Collins said. As potential. Another silence. Not empty. Weighing. We're dangerous, Collins added. You're right about that. We push limits. We break things. Sometimes we don't understand the consequences until it's too late. No one interrupted. But we learn, he said. Faster than systems designed to avoid failure entirely. Selvarek's voice returned, measured. Learning does not undo damage. No, Collins agreed. It prevents repetition. The Arbiter paused again. Longer this time. Then, and if you fail to learn? Collins didn't hesitate. Then we won't survive. That answer shifted something fundamental. No deflection. No excuse. Just truth. The chamber held it. Selvarek withdrew slightly, not retreating, but recalibrating. The council will deliberate, the Arbiter said. For the first time, it sounded less like a declaration, and more like a necessity. The lights dimmed. Not darkness, distance. Collins stood alone again, the vast chamber fading into abstraction as the council turned inward beyond perception. Time passed. No measure. No markers. Then, gradually, presence returned. Not unified. Different. Selvarek reformed at the center, but the authority felt altered. Shared. The council has reached a decision, the Arbiter said. Collins said nothing. Humanity will not be subjected to termination protocols. A fraction of tension released, but not all. Nor will it be confined under existing continuance restrictions. That drew a stronger reaction, shifts across the chamber, disagreement contained but present. Selvarek continued. Your species will proceed without imposed limitation. A pause. Then sharper. You will also proceed under observation. Collins exhaled quietly. Not victory. Not relief. Something heavier. Your role, Selvarek said, is acknowledged. Not endorsed. A final beat. You will act as a variable within the system. Collins almost smiled. Not because it was kind. Because it was accurate. Selvarek's voice hardened once more. Failure will not be tolerated. Collins met it evenly. It never is. The chamber dimmed again, the decision settling into something permanent. As Collins turned to leave, one thought remained, clear, unavoidable. Humanity had not been spared. It had been accepted. And that, he knew, would be far more difficult to live up to.